We are the History Hikers. My name is Jente.
And I'm Dries.
And you find us in Sanxenxo,
which is home to several Gallo-Roman monuments, including this theater. Welcome to Sanxenxo, where we find the ruins of a Gallo-Roman city nestled along the banks of the Von River. It was occupied from the 1st century BC until the 4th century AD. The agglomeration stretched out over 20 hectares. Many of these buildings are buried in the dirt. The only visible remains are 3 large monuments, a temple, thermal baths, and this huge theater.
The theater is located on the right bank of the Von, while most of the other buildings are on the left bank. Reason for this is the natural slope of the hill, which is perfectly suited as a base for the theater's cavea, which is the Latin term for the stands. Most of the stands were made out of wood, except the first few rows for guests of honor, which were probably made in stone. This is similar to other theaters we visited, like at Champleau.
The cavea are built in a horseshoe shape around the nearly 20 meters wide orchestra. The orchestra is the open, circular area in front of the stage. This horseshoe design is typical of Gallo-Roman theaters. They even call it a Gallo-Roman amphitheater because it almost completely envelops the orchestra. We discussed it in a bit more detail when we visited the theater at Tinnac.
The theater was large enough to accommodate nearly 6,600 spectators. That makes it the largest ancient theater we have visited to date, and standing in the middle of such a massive structure left quite an impression on us.
The next monument on our path is the Roman bathhouse. The ruins are very extensive and well preserved. The best preserved baths we have as of yet explored. This is not your typical Roman bathhouse, however. The building began its life as a temple for a single deity. It would be enlarged and be home to a cult of healing waters. In its next stage, it evolves from a sanctuary into thermal baths.
As we take you through the old Hippocaust system designed to circulate the warm air around the building, you can see the amazing state of preservation. What we loved most was how you could still clearly make out the shape of the baths. The mortar that once held the tiles of the bath together was also still visible. Though the tiles themselves are gone, at least we can get an impression of how it must have looked.
We said this isn't your typical bathhouse before, and as we walk around you might start to understand. When the temple was transformed into a bathhouse, it lacked certain typical elements. For example, there seems to have been no frigidarium, or cold bath. Instead, there are 3 hot water baths, named caldaria. The buildings seem to have functioned more as a spa than a regular bathhouse.
The best view of these ancient baths and their support structures is from the top. Luckily, this site is equipped with just that, a catwalk on top of the bathhouse, perfect to study the ruins below.
Sangse came into the spotlight of the academic community in the 19th century thanks to a Belgian Jesuit known as Camille Delacroix. Between 1881 and 1883, he and his team would excavate an area of approximately 15 hectares. He meticulously documented his discoveries in his books, made maps and many photographs. This treasure trove of information is still being used today as we expand our knowledge of the history of this place. Only the 3 main monuments remained unearthed, while other buildings like houses and aqueducts were buried again in the soil.
The last monument is that of the temple, or sanctuarium. It was located in the heart of the city and was surrounded by a large square. It separated this holy space from the secular city. The god that was honored was probably Apollo and maybe Mercurius too.
The actual temple consists of an octagonal central room, known as the cella. On 4 sides it's surrounded by portals, making it quite a special structure in total. The cella is seen as the home of the deity and could only be entered by priests.
Our exploration has only scratched the surface of the stories hidden within these ancient stones, and as we know, there is still a lot more of the city buried in the soil. We hope one day soon a new archaeological study is undertaken to bring more of its captivating history to life.
That was incredible.
Indeed. It doesn't happen often, or well, it is the first time, that we have seen Roman ruins of this scale, where the walls are actually taller than these.
Crazy. Thank you so much for watching. We were the History Hikers.
And like, comment, subscribe and all that good YouTube stuff if you want to see more of these kind of historical places.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.